the waste and abuse of taxpayer money inside USAID has been blowing up ever since Elon Musk and President Trump shed light on it a few days ago. But there's another group who has been talking about it going back absolutely years, and that is Judicial Watch. And its president, Tom Fitton. Tom is also the author of the book Rights and Freedoms in Peril, an investigative report on the left's attack on America. Tom Fitton, Tom, great to have you back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you, John.
I actually want to start with your book because I don't think the left is ever going to stop attacking. But now there is a new fighter in the ring who is counter-punching. We were just talking to Congressman Ralph Norman. He said it feels like a dark cloud has been lifted over Washington. Your thoughts?
Well, the energy and speed of reform that President Trump has brought to the presidency, I don't think the country's ever seen anything like it. I mean, normally we measure this type of activity in the 100 days, right? And he's done more in 2 weeks, I think comparable to the full presidencies of other presidents and then those who've preceded him in the Oval Office. Certainly, the first term I thought was consequential. His first 2 weeks has been as consequential a presidency as certainly Reagan's was. In terms of government reform and oversight. And the idea that we're now talking about curtailing in significant ways the size of the federal employment, government officials that work for the taxpayer, it's the first time in 40 years, going after USAID, which has been on the list of agencies that have been particularly pernicious in terms of undermining the American way abroad, misusing tax dollars to fund the left's advocacy abroad in a way to undermine our national security policies, our foreign policies, and whatever remains of conservative policies in the countries in which they're targeting. What a great start to an administration. And there's much more to be done. Congress, as Congressman Norman was noting, is way behind the 8 ball on these issues, but the president is making up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sure did. He's dragging the entire institutions of Washington up to the front line with him. It's pretty amazing to watch. We're going to have a nice story tomorrow that takes a look at how $9 million of money ended up from USAID to a gentleman who sent it to the al-Nusra Front, the al-Qaeda affiliate and banned group in Iraq and Syria. It's a crazy story, but it shows how bad USAID's vetting is. Previously, we documented how USAID funded a lot of those censorship organizations, but the very first and great work that I ever saw done in USAID came, I think it was 8 years ago, when you at Judicial Watch sued in 2017 and got the record showing a pretty large liberal mega donor was kind of using USAID for his liberal remake of the world.
Yeah, so George Soros has the Open Society Foundations and organizations, and he's not only active here in the United States, but in other countries. And conservatives in these other countries are disturbed about his advocacy for left-wing values, and he's often been able to partner with the State Department, USAID, to advance these values. And we've exposed how government money was sent either to, in partnership with Soros's operations directly, or groups he supports in countries like Macedonia, Albania. And I tell you, it doesn't take a lot of money to sway policy in a country like Albania or Macedonia. And of course, they're able to leverage the money. Any of these left-wing groups, it's not just Soros, it's the whole transnational left. They leverage USAID money to lend credibility and political power to their advocacy for the radical left in these various countries. So they get the rubber stamp of approval and the tacit support of the U.S. government through USAID monies. And the spigot has got to be turned off.
Yeah. Tom, and there are other initiatives that USAID paid for, and that, of course, is with taxpayer money, and it's not necessarily to the extent that it's terrorist organizations, but it's, we mentioned this at the top of the show, $47,000 to Serbia to institute DEI initiatives, or $1.5 million, and then $47,000 to Colombia for a transgender opera. Pull back the curtain for us, because I'm trying to figure out why people in that agency have those desires to fund those things in other countries. Is it one of these things where the initiative gets snuck in there and it falls between the cracks before anyone can figure out it's there?
it's a plaything for the radical left. And, they pretend to be in favor of civil society, and their definition of civil society means groups that are advocating for this extremist these extremist views on culture and such. I mean, the issue about that program in Ireland, why is a development agency, forget about the nature of the program, some crazy play, why is Ireland getting development money from the United States? Mm-hmm. And I tell you, foreign aid, the idea of government-to-government aid, outside of military aid is suspect. But for the United States to be intervening in other countries to advance this radical cultural agenda or political agendas that try to institutionalize the neo-Marxist approach and governance, I tell you, it's more of a way to make enemies than to gain influence.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yeah. One thing we learned today from many federal agencies, not just USAID, was that there's quite a racket going on in the legacy media with federal agencies routing millions of dollars in subscriptions to places like Politico for Political Pro, the New York Times, we found a large amount of money there. The fact that that's getting highlighted, and I think Carolyn Levitt said at the podium, saying, we're not buying new subscriptions anymore. That's out the door. A reckoning and a dirty little secret that the media kind of kept from the American public this whole time.
Well, when you see just 37 subscriptions to Politico Pro,
yep,
which evidently was, I don't know, $20,000 a year per subscription.
Yeah.
That's one agency. You think they're not doing it at Labor? You think they're not doing it at DOJ or any of these other agencies?
$8 million to Politico we tracked across 14 agencies today. $8 million from just 14 agencies.
Unbelievable.
And Politico is down in the dumps in terms of their ability to function as a business. Yeah. This goes back to the issue I was talking about. The left depends on federal monies to fund a lot of its operations. They don't need the money, but they depend on it. Why else would they threaten violence in order to keep the money flowing? Mm-hmm. Unless there was a personal interest in it. And USAID is just one of them. Labor Department, big funder of the labor left. Energy and environmental department agencies, they are promoting, funding the environmental radicals. DOJ has been notorious for sending money to allied leftist groups. So there's a lot of cleanup in aisle 6 for Elon Musk to do for President Trump when it comes to funding the left.
Yeah.
He's got a big bucket and a mop,
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure.
Before we let you go, speaking of funding the left, newly sworn in Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, is working very, very fast. She has directed the DOJ to withhold funding to sanctuary cities. I've lived in sanctuary cities. I happen to know that they don't give a hoot beans difference. They don't care at all about the illegal immigrants. So if they are not getting the money from the federal government, does the funding dry up and then the sanctuary city itself dries up?
Oh, the big question is if legally is that going to hold up? I mean, the Trump administration tried to push back on that previously in the first term, and they were unsuccessful largely. If there are government officials who are obstructing law enforcement investigations, and obviously there has to be criminal investigations that will go on, and this is where Congress needs to step up and step in and make it clear that local officials who engage in these sanctuary city obstructions lose more than just Justice Department enforcement dollars. These are grants by the Justice Department for policing and such. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other money that flows to the states that should have more strings attached as it relates to immigration enforcement.
Yeah. Top Justice Department official today just announced that they are looking at a sheriff in northern New York for possible criminal prosecution because he did release someone who is on a retainer, who is a violent offender, made the feds go get him and catch him again. Yeah. That's the sort of thing that might send a big shockwave through the law enforcement
sounds like
community.
Trump is daring them to resist.
Go do it.
Pretty great tactic. The book, again, everybody, is Rights and Freedoms in Peril, an investigative report on the left's attack on America. Everybody, go check it out. Go buy it. It is a brilliant book. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, thanks so much for being here tonight.